What's up everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. Today we're going to be jumping into some more over analysis. One of my audience members said you're over analyzing Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Chill out, dog. No, I'm not going to chill out because that's probably my aim more than anything else, because Rocksteady is actually one of my favorite studios in all of development studios across the world. So for me to have a game from them coming out that is very different from a lot of the games that they've made in the past requires for me to take a very good look in, and a lot of our audience members actually want to engage in this particular conversation. So today we're going to be looking very carefully at a few things. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is in the Arkhamverse, as you guys know, and it is a third-person shooter, action-adventure third-person shooter. This is the very interesting aspect of this game because it is something that almost deviates from the Arkham formula heavily. If not, it does deviate from the Arkham formula heavily. Now, there are a few articles that actually come to mind when looking at the entire conversation. One of them is actually regarding Gotham Knights from about 2 years ago, before the game came out, if not over 2 years ago. And this was written at comicbook.com by a journalist called Matthew Aguilar. So that particular article actually stated Gotham Knight team explains why it's not set in the Arkhamverse. I had a audience member, somebody comment and say that Gotham Knights was actually trying to copy Arkham and had the Arkham license. I had to try to clarify and maybe provide this article, and they still were not convinced because they said, oh, if you think this game was not trying to say, ooh, this is an Arkham style game, then I don't know what to tell you, which is insane that the developers basically stated exactly what their game is. Now, the entire article has a conclusion that I thought was very interesting because this clairvoyant journalist basically predicted this one thing. They said, and let's look at the date just to make sure. It was, I have to go back to the article and not reader view so we can see the date. It was written August 27th of 2020. So their conclusion on this article was like this. Some will be disappointed that the game is not set in the Arkhamverse, but there will be just as many who are excited for the fresh take on characters and world, which opens up a host of cool possibilities. And I think this is basically what it came down to. The game had a huge divide and so on and so forth. Now here is Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. It says, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is a new genre-bending action-adventure shooter that can be played solo or with up to 4 players in online co-op based on iconic DC characters developed by Rocksteady. And this article here from Gematsu is basically highlighting a few aspects of the nature of the game itself. This is a very important aspect in looking at both games, and you have to take into account what could be the deciding factor between these games. Could it be that because one of them is just going to be in the Arkhamverse, it's not going to disappoint fans and fans are going to be excited about it? Or is it a matter of Rocksteady is one of the studios that can never do any wrong, so we just have to basically, in a sense, say that their game is going to be wonderful, amazing, and exciting, and everyone is going to love it? It's a very hard, concept to tell. Gotham Knights was actually easier. I remember when I first saw Gotham Knights, I was like, a lot of people are going to hate this game. I knew that for sure. I thought I was probably not going to even like Gotham Knights myself. I was like, yeah, I'm probably not going to like this game because I'm a huge Arkham buff. And I was like, yeah, this is probably a game that's not for me. Come to see everything, Arkham Gotham Knights eventually became one of my favorite games of 2022, Elden Ring being number 1, Gotham Knights basically being number 2. And it kind of shocked me. So for me to see a game now and say, oh, this game is going to do A, B, C, and D is just me basically saying things that is probably not going to happen, because if you think about the way fans usually receive games that take a huge change, it's very, very hard. So what is the huge change, and what are we seeing here in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League that is providing a question mark for me? Well, number one is the fact that the style of the game is actually heavily changed from what a lot of fans criticize Gotham Knights for. Now, remember, when Gotham Knights came out, because it's an action combat game, a lot of folks said things like, oh, the combat is this and that. We don't have a counter button. I remember that complaint every single time. A lot of people saying, they didn't have a combat button. A lot of people saying the combat was clunky because of 1, 2, 3, and 4. When in reality, if you kind of look through it, actually, the combat for Gotham Knights is actually superior to some other games like Jedi Fallen Order, and actually similar to Assassin's Creed Odyssey if you you look at, say, skills and look at the way, you know, they designed a lot of things, because, you know, in Assassin's Creed, you basically played as the character that could play different play styles. Whereas in Gotham Knights, you had the 4 different characters that could actually do and execute different play styles in a sense. So when I looked at them side by side and did a comparison yesterday, I noticed that the game actually did check off the boxes of how you get to, you know, set up your characters in terms of a power progression and all of that stuff. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League bringing something very different, to me, is something that we have to basically pay a little bit of attention to as to how fans are going to accept or perceive the game. Some people have said, well, this is actually looking like it's going to be a fun game, you know, but here's the thing. Many people are probably in their mind saying that they do not want to touch this game as well, because they think it looks like something that they will not be, you know, dealing with in terms of appeal. I remember one of my audience members who constantly, you know, commented on my channel whenever I covered Suicide Squad, and they said, this game to me gives me the Avengers vibes. I have no intention to actually play this game. Now, I'm not speaking for myself. I'm speaking about what other people have basically communicated to me. And these are dedicated DC Games fans. I've also seen other DC Games fans basically tell me that, you know, they just cannot resonate with this concept. And I'm trying to highlight that this is going to be something that we're going to be seeing across the board, regardless of how some people perceive that Suicide Squad is basically going to be. Unlike myself, I'm already very aware of the nature of the game that we're going to be playing. I'm looking at this game from a perspective that has its story-based beats and then also has an Avengers-style element, but executed in a much more fluid way. When I say much more fluid way, I mean the fact that you can actually switch your characters, you know, basically on the fly while you're in combat. This is something that Rocksteady has perfected from the Arkham games. I mean, look at Catwoman and Batman here, basically ripping to shreds a bunch of bad guys that are actually in this particular fight sequence against the Riddler. You pretty much see that it's something that's actually quite obvious that they've been working with for a long time, and they finally got that formula down in Arkham Knight and wanted to go ahead and take it to a whole different level, do it as a multiplayer aspect, and I think they're going to do a bang-up job executing it. It's just the depth of, you know, other aspects like combat itself in terms of a shooter that kind of has me in a weird situation, wondering how players are going to take a look at this. Because if you actually evaluate this, you know, a shooter, in terms of the way this has been described, to me, doesn't seem like it's going to provide too much in terms of content. I think we're probably going to be getting a story beat, and then after that, once you beat the game is more than likely going to be over. I don't think we're going to get that huge live service emphasis that the Avengers, you know, was able to try, you know, or the Avengers tried to implement, that basically blew up in their faces. And what I mean by that is Marvel's Avengers basically opened up the door for selling of skins and selling of all kinds of different elements. I don't think we're probably going to see that in Suicide Squad. Maybe we will. Maybe this is probably the reason that, you know, you don't have Stephen Hill and Jamie Walker still at the studio anymore, because I don't think they are, you know, the kind of game developers or directors that would probably stand for something like that. So this is probably where I see, you know, the next few months, they might be adding monetization elements to the game. I would hate to see that, but it is something where profitability basically is what has been driving the head of all of the DC studios. It's a very, very interesting topic that we have to face head on, so that when it eventually comes down to it, we're not shocked or are we surprised. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. It's a video game. Anyone that's going to love it is going to love it. And those who are probably not going to be able to vibe with it, that's also going to be their own thing. I always say that this is a game that I'll be enjoying a lot, because it's a game that's set in a universe that I like, and the characters, I kind of like some of them. And, you know, for the most part, the Justice League, I kind of, you know, I'm down with them regardless. So thanks so much for watching the video. I really appreciate you guys' time and audience. I need you to comment in the comment section about your thoughts surrounding all of this stuff, if you do have the time and if it's safe for you. If you're driving, don't try to comment. You know, just listen to the video, and I just appreciate that alone. So thanks so much, and peace out.